Greetings, Yajong, and happy Hmong Special Guerrilla Units Remembrance Day. Today, Pana Vang, Nate Yang, and I, Lita Tao, will be presenting you guys a special video presentation.
We will be taking you back in history to show you why May 14th is recognized every year as a Remembrance Day for the Hmong people and Hmong soldiers in Minnesota. In this video, we will be sharing with you who the Hmong people are and their journey to America.
Many of your classmates at Eastridge High School have grandparents that served in the Secret War between 1961 and 1975. This is a story of the Hmong people's journey to America. The Hmong people are an ethnic group from the southern part of Laos. They lived in the high mountains of Laos where they farmed and hunted for their food. Hmong people take pride in their rich traditions, practices, beliefs, rituals, and are very clan-oriented. The Hmong community is very interconnected and relational. The beautiful picture shown is a story cloth. In Hmong, we call it bandao. A story cloth allows us to tell stories. Many times it is used to portray the journey of the Hmong people. The story cloth is similar to our books in America, almost like a picture book. It is also used to document the Hmong people's rich oral stories with the goal to keep the culture alive. The Hmong language wasn't a written language until the 1950s, so story cloths were the original sources of documentation. The bandao are known for their beautiful needlework in telling stories of Hmong life in Laos. Losing their home, escaping the war, struggles in crossing the Mekong River, life in the refugee camps, and their journey to a new, unfamiliar country. Laos is a country between Thailand and Vietnam. The Hmong are very familiar with the Ho Chi Minh Trail and know the geography there well. A long time ago, Bu Thou, the Hmong people lived in close proximity to each other. You would see the Hmong villages with many bamboo-made houses where the Hmong people lived. They lived peacefully in the high mountains and higher parts of the land. Families are very close and live in multi-generational homes. Hmong people do not need much to be happy. The Hmong culture is organized by a clan system. There are 18 clans and they can be distinguished by an individual's last name. Some Hmong families continued to practice traditional beliefs while others adapted to Christianity.
The Vietnam War began in 1945 and had a domino effect that led to the Secret War in 1961. This led to the Hmong men being secretly recruited to become a part of the CIA's Secret Special Guerrillas Unit to assist the U.S. military troops on the Ho Chi Minh Trail. The CIA secretly contacted the leader of the Hmong people, General Vang Pao, to seek aid in combating North Vietnam on the Ho Chi Minh Trail. The benefits that the CIA provided to the Hmong were food, weapons, and military training for the men who fought alongside the U.S. troops. The guerrilla units were known as the U.S. Secret Army. The SGU began with about 7,000 men. They continued to recruit more younger men as more Hmong men died on the battlefield. Eventually, they recruited even young boys who were between 11 and 13 years old. The unit had close to 45,000 guerrilla soldiers. Many Hmong women and children feared as their sons and husbands were dying on the front lines. However, General Vang Pao's leadership and guidance gave the Hmong people hope and courage. He was always protecting of his people and making sure that the CIA was not another corrupt government who would turn its back on the Hmong people. General Vang Pao led and trained Hmong SGU soldiers in guerrilla warfare. This training was often as short as 3 days. They would use explosive devices to block the Ho Chi Minh Trail. Some SGU learned how to fly an aircraft. Many Hmong women would help in the cause by aiding as nurses and caring for the wounded. Many Hmong soldiers had saved many American lives, but also lost their lives to save them. A memorial dedicated to the veterans of the Secret War in Laos states many Lao, Khmer, and Mien were allies of the SGU army. About 30,000 to 45,000 of them were killed or missing in action between 1962 to 1975. In 1973, As President Nixon signed the Paris Peace Accord, the United States pulled military forces out of Southeast Asia and left the Hmong people back in Laos, still fighting the never-ending war. May 14th, 1975, was the last day of an airlift evacuation of soldiers and their families from Long Cheng, Laos. Those who were left behind had to seek asylum elsewhere in refugee camps in Thailand. After the Vietnam War came to an end, a communist Lao government took control of Laos. The Lao government started killing Hmong people for aiding the US. Because of the Hmong people's involvement with the US, the government saw Hmong people as an enemy and a threat and began an ethnic cleanse. They started bombing every Hmong village, sending heavily poisoned chemicals from planes to kill Hmong and their livestock. This was known to people around the world as Yellow Rain. It was impossible for the Hmong people to live in Laos, fleeing from Laos and their once known home. Thousands of Hmong people had to decide whether to leave their homeland or suffer the wrath of the communist government. Families could not bring as much as a couple pieces of clothing and food with them as the journey was long and dangerous. They did not know what would happen to their families, nor where they were going. All they knew was survival. Survival of their people. Survival of their loved ones. Thousands of people died and were brutalized on this horrific journey in the jungle. Starvation, illness, violence, kidnapped, raped, and even killed were just a few traumatic experiences many faced on this endless trail. In order to seek asylum in other countries outside of Laos, thousands of Hmong people had to cross the Mekong River, which was dangerous in itself. Many were shot before they got into the river, and many were killed while they were in the water trying to swim across. The Hmong people had never been around such a large body of water before, so swimming across the Mekong River was extremely dangerous. Some families used all their savings and paid fishermen to ferry them across. People made rafts to try to get across. Many individuals drowned. Some were lucky to make it safely to Thailand's refugee camps.
Refugee camps, designed in part by the CIA, were for people to settle in from 1976 to the 1990s. Life in the refugee camp would be a short stay for some and longer for other families. They were given food and supplies by the Thai government, but life in refugee camps was crowded. Churches in Canada, France, and Australia sponsored families and helped them find a new home. Many families experienced culture shock. They had to adjust to new customs, languages, and places. These places also provided new opportunities. Those who came to the United States found these adjustments difficult at first, but learned to adjust to their new surroundings. Today, in the United States, the Hmong community lives freely and practices their religious rituals, have their traditional celebrations, and value their culture. Most of all, the community is happy to be alive and living in a country of opportunities where they are able to watch their young Hmong scholars explore. Recently, the Hmong veterans are being recognized and honored for their bravery, courage, and involvement in the Secret War by the United States. Memorial dedicated to veterans of Secret War of Laos. The memorial is a bronze statue made to resemble a sprouting bamboo shoot. Each petal has images of life, war, and relocation. This is located at the capital. This is the journey of the Hmong people. In the state of Minnesota in 2019, Governor Tim Walz signed a proclamation designated May 14th as a state holiday honoring the services and sacrifices of 35,000 Hmong Special Guerrilla Units veterans who fought and died in the Secret War while fighting alongside with the United States Americans.
Today, we hope that you have come out of this gaining some understanding of the Hmong people's story and how much this day means to us.
Minnesota is our home for the last 45 years, and together we make our community better. Have a happy Hmong SGU Remembrance Day.